Okay, so I'm really excited now. This is my favorite part of doing these coaching sessions, which is where I get the opportunity to answer your questions live. So I'm really excited to see what questions you've sent in and asked for me this evening. And as I said, please be as open as you want. What I really love about the community that we have here at Match is that openness, is the fact that you can share things and that we can also just see really that everybody's in the same boat and we all often are facing the same things. So the first message comes in and they write, how do you manage to maintain an online relationship with a potential partner for several months without having the opportunity to meet in person because of the current coronavirus lockdown restrictions? Yep, I hear you. Coronavirus, what a pain. And actually, before I go on, I just want to say, well done, everybody out there. The past 12 months they've been tough on everybody, on singles. So if you've got through it, if you're still here looking to meet someone, like, well done. Like, that in itself is a win. When it comes to keeping things, I guess, romantic relationships alive and keeping things going, remember this isn't actually all on you. I don't want you to feel that pressure that unless you keep the relationship alive, that it's going to fail. Because remember, a relationship is a two-way street. It's actually about two people working together and being willing to maintain that. Secondly, we also have, in terms of practical tips and tools, luckily we have technology. So perhaps when it comes to your Zoomancing or the video dates, you can think of more creative ways about how you can bring this person into your life. Could you cook a meal together? Could you watch and follow a Netflix series together? Could you go out on your daily walk together, but whilst being on a video chat? Could you start a project together? Whether that's, coming up with some crazy business idea, whether it's playing an extremely long, game of board game online. Is there a project that you can get started? And remember, the more open you can be with someone else, even expressing to them like how much you'd like to see them and how challenging it is keeping a relationship alive over a distance, that just will give you the opportunity to have that emotional intimacy and to keep connecting with them. Okay, so this next question comes in, and it's a little similar to the one we had earlier, which just shows me how many of you out there are thinking about this. This person asks, how can I tell if someone has serious dating intentions or not? Now, this is a tricky one because we all wish that you could just wave a magic wand and know immediately what someone's intentions are. Unfortunately, though, this just isn't how dating works. And that's a lot of the time because when someone first meets us, they either might not be clear about what kind of relationship they want themselves, or they might not be clear about what kind of relationship they can offer you, or what your connection is. So a lot of the time when we try to get to the answer of what does this person want too early on, all that we end up doing is you might end up over analyzing, you might end up worrying about it a lot. And actually, by overthinking things, you might stop yourself from doing the one thing which helps you to make a good judgment call about a person, and that is to be present and to take it slow. So you just have to remember, unfortunately, there isn't a magical answer to this, but taking things slowly really will allow you to build up that trust and to build up that picture of a person slowly and truly in your mind. A lot of the time, when someone does make a really strong impression on us, it's almost like we have two pieces of a 998 piece puzzle, and we look at these two pieces and we really like these two pieces, and we come up with an idea about what the person is like without really actually taking the time to build the whole puzzle. So you've got to build the whole puzzle. You've got to do the due diligence of getting to know someone. You've got to make yourself vulnerable enough to spend the time getting to know someone. And you also have to really listen to them. People, as I said, I'm going to say this for like the 50th time this evening. If someone likes you, if they want to be with you, they are going to be clear about that. So you're not going to have to worry about it. So looking out for that clarity, look out for that consistency. And remember, the tortoise wins the day here. Take it slowly. Okay, so on to our next question. Is it okay to date a few people at the same time? how to tell the person you date that I'm dating several people at the same time. So I like this question because I think you've struck upon the important part of it here, which is that there isn't really a right or a wrong way to date. Some people will prefer dating one person at a time. Other people will like to keep their options more or less open to different degrees. And really, a lot of the time in dating, we're looking to find people who want to date in a similar way to us. Often that can be a really important part of compatibility. So, for instance, if someone is a very strong believer that you just, they really want commitment in the sense of not seeing anybody else from the first date, that person isn't going to be necessarily the most compatible with someone who wants to take a lot of time getting to know someone before they consider commitment. Because of this, and because we don't want to let people down and we don't want to mislead people, it's actually very good to be clear about just to be clear, I guess, about what your intentions are. But we want to be clear in a way that doesn't presume, or should I say, assume what the other person wants. So the best way to do that is actually just to tell them a little bit about yourself. So instead of perhaps saying, what kind of relationship do you want? Or how many people are you seeing? Or are you messaging other people? Sometimes those questions can feel a bit invasive and they can make people feel uncomfortable. A lot of the time, a more elegant way to say exactly the same thing that encourages the other person to share and to open up is just to say, um, this is what I'm into right now. So you could say, for instance, I'm really into exploring different connections, or yes, I'm really looking to meet someone for something serious, but I like to take my time getting to know people and I like to chat to different people and work out who's right for me. So a lot of the time, by expressing what we want, it will allow the other person to reciprocate. So also, if you are the sort of person who is very commitment orientated earlier on, you might just want to say, I'm just the sort of person I like to focus on one person at a time. So by saying how we approach dating, we give the other person a really good opportunity to respond and we allow ourselves to see if we're on the same page. So there isn't a right or a wrong way to date. Some people will like to get to know multiple people at the same time. Other people prefer to focus on just one, and every combination in between. And really, as I said, you're just looking out for people who are comparable to you, who are in the same ballpark, and you're looking to be open about that by not necessarily asking them a very direct question about where they stand, but instead by sharing where you stand. Okay, so the next question here is, what do you think is the difference between looking keen and interested compared to seemingly desperate? Now, I don't really like the word desperate when it comes to dating. I think if someone judges or believes that you are desperate, then perhaps that's saying something that's probably just showing that the two of you are not aligned. You don't view getting to know other people in the same way. So again, this is one of these questions where it's less about a right or a wrong and more about looking out for people who are in the same ballpark as you. So what does one person is someone being needy is to another person someone being emotionally open and really connecting. And it's good to be aware of what you need to be happy and how you like to form relationships. So if you're the sort of person where you like to have a good morning and a good night message, or you like to text people regularly, or you're quite open about your feelings, then to an extent you have to be you, because you're the person, you're looking out for someone who's going to really form that relationship with you. And to do that, you need to figure out someone who's going to be compatible and who is going to find how you express yourself matches up nicely with how they like to express themselves too. And the only caveat I'd add to that is to make sure when you do decide that you like someone, that you have high enough standards around the people that you like. Because sometimes if we meet someone and they seem to sort of tick all of the boxes, or perhaps they have a really great profile, or they look on paper just like the person who we think we should date, then sometimes, again, it's like we go back to having those two puzzle pieces. We take a small first impression of them and we run with it. So if you wear your heart on your sleeve and you find yourself falling for people quickly, and because of that, becoming perhaps very dependent on them or too dependent on them or too open with them too early on, that could just be a signal that you actually need to have slightly higher standards and that you need to take longer getting to know a person. So you make sure that you keep your vulnerability, keep your openness, keep your ability to connect, but you share it with someone who you've got to know just that little bit better. So that's the difference, really. It's not about being needy or desperate. Let's just get rid of those words. It's about looking out for someone who's on the same wavelength as you, who can meet your emotional needs, and also making sure that you're choosing that person for the right reasons. You're choosing them on a sustained good impression rather than a first impression. Okay, so the next question that's come in here. It says, how do you ensure past experiences don't impact new dating experiences? Well, that's a great question. And I think to an extent, our past experiences come into how we interact in our dating life. But why I like the fact that you've brought this up is I do think that, of course, we've all, I mean, I definitely have, and I'm sure you have too, have had dating experiences which have felt disappointing or that haven't lived up to our expectations of them. And whilst it's good to, perhaps learn some lessons from those, like to take things more slowly and to prioritize that person who is being really consistent, it's also good not to go too far in the other direction. If we go into our dates and we're sort of Googling on our phone 25 top red flags, that can sometimes make us hyper vigilant. And by hyper vigilant, what I mean is it's like we go into dates with a sixth sense of danger. It's like you feel like you've maybe had some bad experiences before and you're so determined that they don't happen again that you're like, you are now armed and you are going to check out for those red flags. But sometimes in doing that, if we go too far in that direction, you may end up losing some of that openness, some of that vulnerability, some of that authenticity, which ultimately you really, really, really need to find a partner who's going to truly connect with you. So sometimes a simple action step present really is just to every time your mind goes down that rabbit hole of thinking, okay, was that a red flag? Or do they, what do they want? And you go into that over analysis, you can just take a breath and you can just say, you know what? They seem nice right now, so I'm just going to go with the flow. Or, you know what? I actually don't know because I've just started to get to know them. Or, you know what? I really believe there's lots of great people out there for me, so I'm just going to take my time and get to know this person. So, to stay away from your past experiences, we usually also have to stop making guesses about the future and instead just stay as present as you can with the person that you're dating. This next question asks, so much has changed in dating over the last 10, 20 years, including technology and especially expectations from potential dates. Any tips from those who are first time and a long time daters who are new to modern dating, both on and offline? Yes, I guess the methods of our dating lives have changed. Of course, we now have I think technology is pretty great. Like the fact that you can now don't have to just sort of chat somebody up in the beer garden. You can actually meet all these incredible new people on Match. You've got those tools. Of course, we've got the ability to talk to people much more regularly now. We have instant messaging and we've got video calls. However, whilst perhaps our method of meeting people has changed, people haven't changed and what people want hasn't changed. So I'd really suggest to anyone out there, please don't buy into the story that, modern dating is ruined or no one on online dating wants a serious relationship, because that's just rubbish. Of course, there are loads of people out there who are going to want the same things as you. So again, start with the belief that you can absolutely do this, that people are fundamentally still the same, that people, no matter if there's dating apps or pandemics, people want the same things. Of course, when you go anywhere, whether it's a beer garden or an online dating platform, there's going to be some people who are better matched to you than others. Some people who want a more similar style of relationship, or perhaps want the same goals of you as you for the relationship, or perhaps again like to get to know people in a similar way. So your goal really is just like, how can you be clear about what you're looking for? And that clarity starts with yourself. I don't want anybody out there convincing yourself that to settle for a relationship that's less than what you actually want just because you think a person, you quite like them. Instead, I want you to remember that you're allowed to have the relationships that you want. And I want you to remember that the action steps to get there are the same. You need to be proactive. You need to send messages online. You need to smile at people across the beer garden. You then also need to listen to what people communicate. Is someone clearly showing that they're on the same page as you or not? And if someone is showing that they have a different view on relationships to you, don't try and convince them. Don't try and get them to change their mind. Likewise, listen to people's actions. Is someone showing up in a way that they are being, again, consistent, clear, communicative? Are they doing the things that are signaling to you that they're ready to have this kind of relationship? A lot of the time, as I said, people don't mean to mislead or let you down. They just might not be ready to have the same kind of relationship as you do. So if you're really clear on what you want, stick with that and keep building that positive belief that, you know what, there are lots of great people out there. Next question. What questions should you avoid asking on a first date? What are really important questions to ask? Check you're compatible with someone. So when it comes to questions, I would say this. I would say the only questions I'd ask you to avoid on first dates are very much small talk questions. So the sort of, oh, so how long have you been doing that? Whereabouts is that then? How many years did you study? Oh, these questions, why I don't think they're very good, and I've spoken about this in some of my other coaching sessions, is small talk stops you from expressing your personality. It also stops them from expressing their personality. So it just becomes hard for you to understand if you have that chance of connection because you're not talking in enough detail and about enough emotional subjects to really know if you have that connection. And I really want you, if there's an opportunity for a connection, I want you to have that connection. So if you do ask questions, make sure they're ones that are very feeling orientated. So instead of asking a person, how long have you done that job? You instead want to say, what motivated you to start that job? What do you enjoy most about your job? Have you got a colleague that's a best friend? You want to ask questions which the person has to give you a more emotional response, and they have to give you almost a little bit of a story about things because that's what allows you to really get to know someone. Now, in terms of questions to check compatibility, I'm going to flip that round again. And instead of making it about a question you asking them, I want you to make a statement about yourself. So just as a recap, remember, a question is, so what are you looking for? Well, even I feel put on the spot when I say that. A statement is saying, of course, if I met the right person, of course I'd be open to a relationship. That'd be amazing. So I want you to notice that when you make a statement about what you want, it's softer, it's more inviting, it's more easy for the other person to respond to, and you also get to feel like you have been really clear about what you want. And of course, the only trick there is then to listen to what the person's response is. If someone changes the topic, if someone doesn't engage or gives you a very woolly answer like, oh, I don't really know what I'm looking for right now, looks down at their feet, changes subject, you've probably got the information you need there that they may not be looking for the same things as you. So remember, focus on those really emotionally open questions and focus on telling people what you want rather than asking them what they want. So the next question, how and when is the best time to find out if a man wants marriage and kids? So I'm going to flip this around again. So I'm so annoying for doing this, but I think what you want to focus on first is compatibility and connection. And I know I say this and it is so hard because I think particularly as a woman, particularly if your goals are around family, I think that feeling of time pressure can be very, very, very difficult to deal with. You might have lots of people asking about when you're going to meet someone. You know what your goals are in life. So I'm not saying that this is easy, but it's actually ironically the best way to do things, because when you analyze a person very early on, and when you're worried about when's the right time, if do I ask him if he wants to have commitment, what you might be forgetting to focus on is your connection and compatibility. So remember, of course, it's great that you're clear about what you want. You're very much allowed to want to have a partner, to get married and to have kids, of course, but that should be conditional on experiencing a great connection with him. So instead of trying to get to that information first, focus on getting to the connection. Establish whether you actually get on. Do you like this person? Because obviously, someone who's going to be your baby daddy and husband, that is a big role for someone to fill. So you really want to make sure that they are the right person to fill that role. So also, on top of focusing on connection, focus again, consistency, clarity, communication. Are they showing up for you as someone who is 100% willing from day one to build that partnership? If so, that's going to be a really good indicator that they're going to be someone who you can share your life with. The next question is, do you stick with a profile you feel comfortable with, or go a little bit out there to shake things up? I like your expression there, go a little bit out there, and I am actually in favor of a slightly more Marmite profiles. Now, here's my perspective on this. I really think a key to online dating success is your ability to stand out. It's your ability to showcase your personality, to find people who like your personality, who connect with it, who feel similarly about you. So sometimes if your profile is a bit vanilla, whilst it doesn't put anyone off, it might not also switch anyone on either. So instead, it can often pay to be just a little bit more divisive, where, okay, some people will read it and be like, oh, no, but you don't need everyone to like you. You just need one person, right, to say, hell yes, I like this person. So because of this, I would go for the slightly spicy side of things, and I would use some techniques to make your profile more original. Now, as I mentioned earlier, there was that technique about dictating your profile instead of writing it down. Often that will mean that you get your phrasing a bit better. Also, for everyone out there who's listening, if you want to shake up your profile, the easiest thing that you can do, look at your profile. Now, I want you to look out for, are there any really generic words in there, like I like travel, or I like eating out, or, words like that. Instead, I want you to cancel out those generic words, and I want you to replace them with specifics. Tell someone where you like to go traveling, where your ideal holiday destination is, what was your best moment on holiday. Instead of saying you like eating out, describe your favorite restaurant. Talk about what you always order. Say that you always order king crab claws wherever you go. Go for something specific. Something specific is going to give a much better and clearer insight into your personality, and it is going to spice up your profile very, very, very easily. Final tip for your profile, cut that profile down. Sometimes actually a slightly shorter profile, which has 1 or 2 sentence paragraphs, that's easier to read and that's more full of personality rather than repeating the same things, can actually be more effective. So you want to go for a punchy profile that isn't repetitive, that's very specific, and that's written in a tone of voice. And as I said, the biggest tell here is it should really feel like when someone's reading your online dating profile that they're having a conversation with you. So remember, go out there, don't be too vanilla, spice it up, and show someone your personality. So that is all the questions that I have time for this evening. I don't believe that hour and a half has just flown by. So I want to start off by saying thank you so much. Thank you for hanging out with me and spending a good chunk of your Monday night learning with us today. I've really, really, really appreciated it. Again, your questions are getting more awesome every time we do one of these match lives. So if I didn't get around to your question today, please know we do read every single question. So if we didn't get the chance to answer it today, then I may well do another live coaching session about that in the future. And we will have a new live coaching date coming up. So please keep your eyes peeled for that. I would really love it if you could come back again. And for all of you there at Match, I'm really happy to say there will also be an on-demand replay of this session available after this session has ended. So if you check back in a few days, you'll be able to see a recording of this session. So if perhaps you had to make a cup of tea, or you missed something, or you just want to go back over things today, or you want to do that circles exercise, please watch this video session again. I hope there's hopefully lots of information you can get from it going forwards. And thank you again for joining me this evening. And I'm going to really look forward to working with you again on another live coaching session soon.